Good morning, Dr. Cindy. How are you?
Doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great too. Thank you very much for asking and for saying yes to be interviewed today. I'd like to introduce myself formally. My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled Your Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, before we start, I would like to give our listeners a bit of an introduction about yourself, and then we can get right into the business. So, hello everyone. We have Dr. Cindy Starke here with us. Dr. Cindy grew up in a blue collar home where poverty, sexual abuse, drugs, and alcoholism ran deep through both sides of her family. She knew by age 14 she had to do something different with her life. She was determined to make something of herself and excel, and so she did. She obtained a bachelor's degree, then an MD, then a PhD, the first person in her family to achieve such a high level of education. And her area of expertise is in molecular genetics. Now, after 20 years of full time medicine, she quickly realized she needed a change. Through a combination of self discovery, tenacity, financial literacy, and job restructuring, she was able to still be a doctor and have more free time. Through her group and individual mentoring programs, she is dedicated to helping medical health professionals achieve work life balance. Now, I personally can relate because I just transitioned out of my 9 to 5. So, right now, on to my second act as a podcaster and as a RTT hypnotherapist. So I need to know what is your backstory and how'd you come about to write now.
Congratulations on rewriting your story and entering Act Two.
Thank you. It's still very scary, Dr. Cindy, to be honest.
I know it's scary for me too, and I don't even know what part of this story to tell, except for I think when COVID hit, I think everything kind of like got really clear in my life. Um, so well, as a healthcare professional, I never forget one day we went in and it was like this for a good 4 weeks. They gave us one, it's called a Cavi wipe. It's like a little tiny paper towel that has some cleaner in it, but that's how we sterilize our work.
Right. Okay.
If you one to use for the whole day, I had an N95 and I was told to reuse that over and over again. And we've never been allowed to reuse it over and over again. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we are here in the hospital with the sickest of the sick people and we can't protect our lungs and we have one cleaning wipe for the whole day. I said, wow, really stressing me out even being at work. And I loved being a doctor. I still do love it, but I just couldn't do that to myself like 28 days a month anymore. And so back in 2020, it started hitting me. Something's got to change with you. We have a similar story. I would love to hear your backstory too with your RTT hypnotherapy. But I I knew that I wanted to change, but I couldn't physically do it. And so then I started this, why am I holding myself back? Into a childhood trauma relief program because there were some things in my past, when I was 14, I felt like that maybe I wasn't worthy of the life that I wanted. And when I cleared out all the effects of all the childhood trauma that I had been through, just sexual abuse and just a bunch of drugs around me, I cleared out my potential and I said, I can do this. And I quit, as soon as I cleared out all the self-limiting thoughts, I quit and start working part-time. And I said, I just need to help other people do this too. Because the medical professionals, everybody's probably suffering, but all I know is what we are suffering in the hospital,
Yeah. I mean, I spoke to one guest and he said the same thing about medical professionals around the world, not just in the US. People are struggling. And I think COVID was a very pivotal moment for a lot of people, if not the whole world, right? That also like shifted the whole focus. I was forced to take a sabbatical leave as well because my mental health was down the drain. And my story, just a quick summary of my story, how I got into RTT was uh around September 2019, I finalized my divorce. So it was just a marriage of, yeah,
I
a
had that in my
uh,
story too. I just didn't even mention it.
2 years of marriage. So it ended in 2019, just before COVID, 6 months before COVID. And then COVID, our lockdown started in Malaysia in March 2020. So at the time between September to March, I was like, okay, this is my free time. I am a free bird now. I can do whatever that I want to do. And then COVID hit. I also went to Australia the first time as like a solo travel for me to, find myself. But little did I know, the answers are all within and you cannot run from your problems. But I didn't know that. And so COVID forced me to look within and really like purge all of the stuff, like grieve the loss of the relationship. And then, well, at the height of my career, I had the divorce and then COVID happened. And then the career was like, so it's like two big aspects of my life were gone. And I had to do a reboot of everything. And frankly, I'm still finding, but I think I found what I want to do. And it's just like, it's the slow climb for me right now. Yeah,
Yeah, well,
that
you know,
is
it's
that.
funny because sometimes you think that you do have to go. I know that Australia is not halfway across the world, but sometimes you think you have to go halfway across the world to find yourself, but you can find it right where you are.
Dr. Cindy, let me tell you something. I don't know how, but I don't know if you believe in the power of universe, alignment, right?
I do.
Yeah. So I started. So RTT was the first I did. I guess I said to myself, I need to help people get through whatever it is tumultuous relationships that they have, or also pivoting new career. That's why I went into RTT. And then I said to myself, before people, I had some worthlessness issue because of the burnout that because I wasn't performing well because I was, you know, uh, uh, hit by that thing, the personal trauma and also work. So everything crushing down, and I had to work through that. And then, so I started podcasting. I started talking to people like if there are also people around the world facing similar having similar journey as mine. And to my surprise, everybody's like resonating. And fast forward, and I don't know how, and I just got um an opportunity presented itself for me to go to the States. And to answer to your question, I did go half across the world and actually have made up another big decision just after I came back that I closed my life in KL, my capital, and I moved to my parents, which is East Malaysia, for me to prepare for my relocation abroad.
Okay.
And that's why it's so scary. Dr. City is like everything is like, whoo, it's floating, but I'm like trusting, but it's like, am I sure? Are you sure, Nicolette? But I'm gonna go and do it. If not now, when?
Of relocating abroad,
Bless you.
but it is that prospect is so scary to me because I have kids. I think that I could do it if I didn't think my kids would need me, or I just couldn't imagine not seeing their important things in life. I don't know. I often think about that. I'm working on my own because I feel they should feel like they can go live abroad if that's what they want to do. So why don't I feel like I could?
Yeah. And I always believe in, so don't look at the messenger, look at the message. Probably you need to hear this today from me. Maybe that's going to be the push for you.
You gonna live?
Dr. CG. The States. I've always wanted to go to the States. I've always wanted to live in the States. So yeah, I know a lot of people, with the election results and like Asia, like looking towards the States. But I'm like, I don't know, I feel this pull towards the city. So yeah, and that's why I'm making connections, building rapport across the world, halfway across the world. And this platform has been really, really useful and beneficial. So yeah. And to answer you,
Waiting.
that's New York City. I know it's
My daughter wants to go to grad school, and she's taking a gap year for her mental health right now because her mental health was going down the tubes. So she said, I'm taking a sabbatical. She finished her bachelor's degree in psychology, and she's about to go
Oh,
become a clinical doctorate of psychology.
psychologist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and wants to go to New Jersey or Chicago. So it's New York. It has a very special place in our heart. We go all the time. Yeah.
I love it.
Good. Don't even doubt yourself.
Thank you. The the whole the timeline. I mean, of course we plan, but higher power he knows better or she knows better. So the plan is by fall next year. So let's see. Yeah, and so it is.
2025.
Okay, Dr. Cindy. Oh my God, we've gone off tangent. So, and you mentioned your backstory. Okay, what actually led you to a career in medicine in the first place?
Well, think about that because I different than what anybody else had done in my family. Like my mother was a hairdresser, so my sister was a hairdresser. My father was an electrician, so my brother was an electrician. Said, I'm doing something completely different. And I feel like as lame as this sounds, I kind of went to college at this place where I went to college because I was following my boyfriend. Okay.
Don't worry, Dr. Cindy, I can relate. So one of the reasons for me to going to States was also because of it
Yeah.
didn't work out. Though I mean, like it was like 50-50. I kind of want to see where it's gonna go, but it didn't work out. But then another surprise happened. So there was another person. I mean, if we were to talk about this, that's another episode of its entirety. But yeah, I can totally relate.
So I there and we broke up soon after. But the people that I was surrounding myself with, like I was just imagining I was going to get a bachelor's degree, and I knew that I loved science and math, and that naturally kind of started leading me down to the biology, subject. Realized that everybody I was meeting in my class, they were all pre-med. And I said, well, they're not smarter than me. If pre-med, I guess I could be pre-med too. And so, to another, and I ended up really late in the game that I could become a doctor, and I took all the entrance exams for it. But to be honest, it was kind of sad too. Another tragedy in there. Right when I was finishing college, I was thinking I was going to go to grad school. But then what made me really, really decide to become a doctor is that my sister's child died at 8 weeks of age in his crib. He just woke up dead, and nothing like that ran in our family. And the way that his pediatrician through that tragedy, that's what made me realize I want to help be that force for other people that are going through a tragedy. And really what sealed the deal was the death of my nephew, my little 8-week-old precious nephew. And all that doctor helped us through that.
Yeah.
Sad.
Wow. Wow. It is a sad. I always think of it like humans are, if there's something that we're meant to do. I mean, it's not to say that but it's just that little nudge, to go. Yeah, like okay,
It's
you're
like,
going this way.
I feel like God and the universe that things in your path and just sends you right down the path you're supposed to go down. Because I really believe this is a calling on my life because it's just so fulfilling to help people get better when they're sick.
Because having gone through that experience yourself, it's always we know what it feels like to be on in their shoe. We were there once, so yes.
Exactly.
To talk to us, Dr. Cindy, about your book. Hi, I'm Nick Nieras, your host of the Your Worthless podcast. Now, if these real raw stories hit home, don't wait. Please follow, like, and subscribe on Spotify and YouTube. For bite-sized inspirational reels, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Don't wait. Your transformation starts today. Thank you, and bye for now.
Another book, Nicolette, because this book was written in 2016. So this was an old story, an oldie but a goodie. I don't know if you know that phrase.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, old but gold.
yeah. So I was to the story to give, but long story short, I wanted to do a triathlon is what it boils down to. And I trained for an entire year to do this Ironman triathlon, and I had done a half Ironman successfully. You know, you just
Where you had to swim across the seas.
swim across the sea, 2 hours swim, 8 hour bike ride. So it's like 100 and something miles. I literally don't even remember how many miles. I think it was like 120 or 112 miles on the bike. So it took 8 hours to bike. And then the marathon is 26.2 miles. So that took me 6 hours just to run after biking for 8 hours, after swimming for 2 hours, and trained, and I was ready for race day. About 3 minutes too slow on the bike, and they pulled me off the course. And like 20 other people, we were going too slow. About predicting your time. If you continue at that speed, you're not going to be in the city to start running the race before the sun goes down. And so if
Right.
you haven't reached a certain point by a certain time in the day, you're disqualified. And that devastated me because I had trained for an entire year. I had all the nutrition and I had all the fitness in my bones and, cardiovascular endurance and all this. I had taught myself literally how to swim and bike because I had never biked really long distances before. And to be disqualified, it was mortifying.
Yeah.
My is about how I decided I am not going to let that be the end of my story. Without telling anybody, I started training for another triathlon right when I got home from that failure, that dislocation. And then I successfully finished a finish line 8 weeks later. And I did
Wow.
another one, whole another one right after I had just done one. So yeah, it was just
That just goes to show, don't you dare
a
me
story of
not to
grit
finish.
and perseverance and determination. And when you have your mind set up, really nobody can tell you that you can't do something. Believe in yourself,
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
And
the story of the book.
wow, amazing. Like when you were explaining 2 hours of swimming and then 8 hours of biking, those are the two things that I cannot do in my life. I can't swim and I can't.
And I couldn't either.
Really? Did you sign up for lessons for yourself?
I did. I went to a local college and
Huh?
me, and he's like, he couldn't believe how inexperienced and but how terrible I was. And he literally gave me a snorkel so that I could keep my head down. And
Huh?
then I put my fingertips on this little paddle board type thing and just
Right.
my head completely down with the snorkel up and with my hands like this, I just,
Yeah.
he taught me just do the kicking. We're just going to do the kicking. And I would do that day after day after day after day. And then he would put like fins and this wedge thing, kind of like a float between my thighs.
Right.
Legs wouldn't have to do the work. And then all I did was just work on the arm movement for day after day after day, week after week. And then we would combine it all together. It was meticulously, painfully, a very slow, grueling process. But if you believe in it and you hire a coach, you can learn how to do it too. I guess it's
Exactly. And look at you completing, what is it? Triathlon? Was
Ironman
it?
Triathlon.
Oh my God, that's the most difficult one in the world.
140.6 miles.
Goodness.
Yeah. Crazy, man.
Amazing, amazing. You deserve.
Cindy, I did it.
Yay! Cindy, you did it. Oh my God.
Heard so many women. COVID happened right after that, but I was supposed to go story to Girl Scouts and like all these girls on the run, just all these women-based organizations. But I had marital problems right after that. The triathlon caused a lot of marital problems between me and my husband, and then COVID happened right after that. So I never got my word out. So I really think I need to either else epic and write a book about it or something, because now I've gotten divorced and now COVID is way in the rearview mirror, and now I can do with my story what I wanted to do with it.
Yeah, and you should do it or something, because I'm planning. I am actually in the midst of preparing, trying to get the details for a retreat that I want to do next year. So, and yeah, and it's about self-worthiness and how do you overcome setbacks and challenges, basically empowering women. But of course, if men, we're not gonna disqualify men to join as well. And I would like to invite a few of my speakers to come and do a talk and also some meditation, mindfulness, yoga, all those things. I haven't figured out the details, but that's the full event. Maybe a 4 day, 3 night stay. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, yeah, thinking maybe somewhere in, I don't know, Sedona, because that's
I've been to
yeah,
Sedona. It's a beautiful place. It's like, do you know this about Sedona? There are really strong vortex out there.
exactly. There are vortices across the world, and I'm like, it's either Bali or Sedona, or there's one in Costa Rica as well. Yeah,
Well, if I can help you out, or if you need someone to help you do then with it, I would love to attend it. Or either way, I would love either way.
thank you. You just made my day.
Houston retreats. I haven't done one where there's a vortex, but I've done them in the North Georgia mountains, and just to get a bunch of women together and fire and go. We did yoga. We did a meditation by the creek. And we did like a foot soak, like a hot
Yeah,
soaks on your feet. And
yeah,
then we went on a hike in the mountains. It's just a wonderful time. Absolutely.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I've got one potential. Yeah. Oh, Dr. Cindy. Okay, I'm pumped up. I'm pumped up now. Okay. What were your biggest challenges growing up?
I would say one of the biggest challenges was to educated and kind of set myself apart in my career, and from a family that didn't really, I don't want to say they didn't believe in it, but they just didn't engage in it. My dad was a farmer, grew up as a tobacco farmer, and then my mom, her parents grew up in the Great Depression, and so it just felt like such a scarcity mindset. Being they just like uh, this is how their life is, and they don't even want anything different. And so just different from everybody in my family. It was very, very challenging. I mean, it still is. I just have to, I intentionally make a lot of friends that are kind of like-minded like me.
Yeah. And your network is your net worth.
Yeah. One of the things that I went through, one of the self-discovery that I that and myself up for back in 2020 during COVID. Just mind repatterning so that you can kind of like literally rewire your mind for success. And when I realized that and bring up the versions of yourself, the 7-year-old Cindy, the 14-year-old Cindy, the 30-year-old Cindy, that different things happen to, and you can like have a talk with that inner child in a meditative state and give them what they needed then, and kind of like you tell 30-year-old Cindy, I'm your mother now. This 55-year-old Cindy is the mother now. And if you want anything, just come to me and tell me what it is that you want. And when you're able to regulate all your emotions, then your body is not ruled by fear and shame and sadness and anxiety. It's just like this opens up. And so
Yeah.
it's just been wonderful to go through all that now and just not let it hold me back.
I love that because you just touched upon the very core of hypnotherapy, because we work with subconscious mind and
RTT stand for
rapid transformational therapy by Marissa
Goddamn.
Peer.
Rapid transformational. Okay, thank you.
Yes, yes, you're very welcome. And that is the flagship by Marissa Peer. And we talk about a lot about neuroplasticity and rewiring old pattern, old thinking, limiting beliefs, so that thus the world opens up for you. Truly, it is limitless.
We don't realize that what everybody needs to realize is when we were born, we were limitless. And only through all this indoctrination of our, societal constrictions and parental programming, religious programming, academic
Yes.
programming, And all this
Yeah.
shit is programmed into our mind, and we think that's what we have to do.
And it's the truth.
Because you tell yourself that's the truth, but then when you just
Correct.
live all that, it's like the elephant where they tie a little rope to a foot and they put it in
Uh-huh.
a stake in the ground, and that will hold that elephant down when they're like 20 pounds. But then
Mm-hmm.
even when they're 2,000 pounds, they think this little tiny string holds them down because
Exactly.
they were raised. Same principle. Take that stake
Ex-
out of the ground. Get that rope off your ankle.
yes. And then, I mean, to echo that example of the elephant, and there were also, I think, documentary made or just a test where the whatever pole is holding the elephant, and when it's taken off, they don't even know it's really taken off. It's still standing there, thinking that it's still chained to that pole. Or yeah. So can you imagine the potential, the time you've lost if you just stood there and not knowing that it's actually, it's already cut off. You can't go and explore and run unbridled. Well, not elephant. Yeah. Right?
It Whenever my daughter, if she says, I'm just going to stay in Georgia, for grad school, I said, to go, you said you wanted to go to New York or Chicago. What has gotten into your,
God,
like,
go
do
New
not
York.
limit
I'll
yourself.
see you there. Yeah.
Do not limit yourself. It can just been so, not secretly, but instantly where
Yeah.
overcome by limitation. You don't even know where it came from. I'm happy that there's a group of people like me and you and, 200 others that we see the potential, just the human potential. And we're here to help other people claim in the world.
Yes. Yes. This is so important. And I do not want to be disconnected from you, Dr. Cindy. So we're gonna make sure that we stay connected.
Please.
Yes. Okay. I know we touch a bit about your book, From Fear and Failure to the Finish Line. What would a reader that has the book in their hand, what would their takeaways be from? Becoming a podcast host was a natural extension of my second act. And after spending 15 years in the corporate world, I've transitioned to helping individuals overcome challenges like navigating tough relationships, career burnout, and aligning their mission with their soul's calling. By certifying as an RTT hypnotherapist and a lifestyle coach, I've made it my mission to empower people to recreate the life they deserve and building a supportive community through my podcast. Now, let me ask, are you facing challenges like struggling to reprogram your mind to attract wealth, weight issues that feel like a constant yo-yo, insomnia or restless nights from daily worries, or just a lack of confidence in public speaking? If the answer is yes, visit www.thenicknearholisticlifestyle.com and grab a free hypnosis audio of these common struggles. It's a sneak peek into how my coaching works. Are you feeling shy? Don't be, because I'm as real as it gets. Let's connect on Instagram and LinkedIn and start your transformation today.
Yeah, well, one of the biggest things that, I kind of explained it to you with the swimming, but like I couldn't swim. And so I broke it down into little bitty parts. I mean, I didn't do it, but my coach did it, but I believed in it, right? So I took the breathing out and then the hands out and then the feet out. And then I put all three of those together and I was able to swim for 2 solid hours in an ocean.
Open sea.
And the open sea, but a wetsuit on for 2 hours. So the point of the book is that no matter how big of a goal that you have or a dream that you have, if you break it down into small enough parts, you can figure it out if you just trust in the process. That's the whole point of the book. And then also, well, it's just kind of the same thing, but you can you can do whatever it is that you set your mind to.
And I believe that 1000%. We're living proofs of that.
Yeah. See so many people that all they do in their life is what they did yesterday or what they did last year or what they did last decade. I'm like, can we just do anything different?
Different, yeah. Like, don't you want to try and see your potential? Like, where can you go, like I just break that ceiling already. But at one hand, I had to learn to understand and accept and understand that there will be people who's content with where they are, and we cannot, again, like, once we explored this side and we've sort of rewired our minds, and we cannot indoctrinate that into them without their willingness or openness to accept new thinking. So yeah, it's a thing that I struggled to before. Like, I know, and I know better, but no, Nicolette, meaning you gotta work more on yourself, on your thinking, because if you're trying to impose, meaning no, you're not really in control of your emotions or the level of acceptance.
Next door neighbor had come over here last night, and she and I were talking about there are just certain people in the world. This is how I see it. It's my opinion. I could be wrong, but I'm entitled to my opinion. But there are certain people on this earth that they have a fixed mindset, not a growth mindset. And so you can not drive yourself crazy trying to change people with a fixed mindset. And I believe in how to word it exactly, but like soul reincarnation. Like, I feel like my soul has probably lived 20 lives already. I feel like it's probably going to live 200 more lives. And sometimes each soul's journey in this physical body, maybe it wasn't meant to go live in Australia. Or maybe, someone with a fixed mindset wasn't meant to childhood trauma and see what what that's are and how limitless they really are. But if it's laid it upon you, then follow her nudging and do with it what you're called to do, because it's your time in this soul's journey to make a bigger difference in your life. That's how I see it.
Yeah. Yes, yes. And then when you were explaining that, my mind started wandering off to, like, because I've always wanted to become, because I always believe if the universe has placed something up within you, like you want to achieve something. I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to become a pilot. I wanted to become a policewoman. I wanted to become a cardiac a surgeon. And I was like, maybe those are me in different lifetimes or different realities. And yeah, right?
Thing I want to do, and I can't decide if it is. I think it's going to be for me on this lifetime. It's that there's a beautiful footpath up the side of the country. It's like practically, an hour in my backyard. Just drive an hour up to Springer Mountain. It's called the Appalachian Trail, and it's 2,190 miles from Georgia to Mount Katahdin up in Maine. And there's three of them, in our country. There's one on the Pacific coast, and there's one in the middle. And then the one over here where I live on this side of the country that goes from Georgia to Maine, it's called the Appalachian Trail. Tons of people have done it. And there was this one woman back in 1955 when she did it, but she was 52 years old when she did it. I think she did do it in 1955. And she did it 3 times after that. And that's one thing that I want to do. I've been wanting to do it for about 25 years. But to imagine just going off the grid for 6 months, it takes 6 months to do it, and live with nothing on backpack. I can't imagine doing it. But so many people have done it, and I love hiking and being outdoors. So that's my next thing that I want to do. I don't want to do it until my last kid gets out of college. For years.
Well, I think you've already, I mean, based on our conversation, you've already expressed your interest to the universe. And I think it's gonna come into reality. You're manifesting it because, number one, what I picked up is that you will always wanted to go abroad and, maybe live there. And you mentioned, I don't know, somehow I feel that you're very much inclined towards Thailand or Indonesia, perhaps. And then this feeling that I get, maybe the Appalachian Trail would be like a testing phase for you, a split testing.
Yeah.
Before you go there, before you move completely. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. And I just got divorced in 2021, and so I feel like in a way that proves some things for myself, that I'm still in the process of proving that everything's going to be okay, and that I can I'm successful and I can, make my bills on my own without a husband attached to me. And it's just those bigger dreams of maybe living abroad for a short period of time. I don't know how long I would do it for. And then also the Appalachian Trail. It's going to come in due time, but right now I'm just getting my feet underneath me.
I totally get it. Even like right now, I've lived independently. I think I built something for myself back in Kuala Lumpur, and right now I'm in a small city, nature city called Sandakan, and I'm back in my parents' place. And somehow I cannot help but to think like I've left my life there, but this is a period, an incubation period for me to figure out what I want to do next, like where I'm going, where I'm taking myself, where I'm flying, spreading my wings next. So relax, Nicolette. You're divinely guided and you're protected. You're gonna make it.
Where you need to be. Trust that.
That is right. Oh, okay. Dr. Cindy, I think I wanted to ask you what is next for you, but looks like you've already answered that. We're gonna go to a self-worth question then. And the question for you, Dr. Cindy, is in your journey, have you found a connection between spirituality and self-worth? How do spiritual beliefs or practices influence your sense of self?
That is a loaded question. I feel like we could
Okay.
explore that for a year.
And
I do a couple of things that I do in my house that are like spiritual practices that help me realize that I'm worthy of whatever the crap I want. Does that sound okay?
yes, please. It is
Okay.
no it's not a right or wrong answer.
Of me getting certified to become a trauma release specialist and help people their subconscious minds, right? To get rid of all the limiting beliefs that any crap that we had to deal with in our childhood did to us. And that was a Reiki master. I certified to be a Reiki healer, but I took the first two, big courses. So I learned about the energy centers in our body. And they're
Mhm.
pretty much these, in case your listeners don't know, they're like these, there's 13,000 of them, but there's seven main ones. And they go from your crown and your third eye down to your throat, your heart, your sacral, your solar plexus,
Solar
sacral, and
plexus.
then your root.
Yeah.
Those are the seven
Yes.
main ones. And so I have different stones around my house, okay, like crystals that are the different colors of all these different chakras in your body. And I play Hertz music as many times as I can, whether it's on my television or on my phone, just to help align the frequency in my body with the frequency of the earth. And that might sound really far out there and woo, but I believe in this.
Oh no.
I have seen healing with that. And yeah, between the Hertz music and my crystals and just my knowledge of the chakras, the energy centers, and just kind of have an intentional meditation and aligning myself with the spirit of the earth, the frequencies of the earth. I feel like that helps kind of shake loose whatever it is that we do as humans to kind of like constrict ourselves. And I feel like that it makes your body know that you're not worthless. You're worthy of anything. You have to tap into the enormous power of the earth and how we're like the earth to
Oh yeah.
really open up those channels to
Oh yeah.
experience your limitlessness because there's no limits on your worthiness.
Mm-hmm. To
How would
be honest,
question? I can say so much about that question, but we'll just leave it at that.
it could be another episode of its own.
Yes,
Right? Yeah.
I would love to come back.
Yes. Yes. I think I would love to have you back too for my season 2.
Hey, great. I would love that.
Yeah. And I think we're vibing. We're vibing on the spiritual side. And I think you have a lot more that you want to share on that. So yes. Yes. Okay. What is your heart's greatest wish, Dr. Sid?
Wish,
Mm-hmm.
wish is that would know how, and even really infinitely, but just how infinitely we are loved and how there is a guiding force out here in the universe, whether you want to call that God or spirit or divine or source, but we are we are divinity, and we are led by this beautiful, omnipotent force that's in the world. If you can just tap into it and hear it and feel it and kind of follow the joy in your life, and hey, you're worthy of anything great and wonderful and joyful that you can possibly dream of. I just feel like so many people think it's their lot in life to suffer, and I'm just here to tell people it doesn't have to be that way.
It was like a hug to me. Do you have a mantra that you live by?
One thing that's written through phases, but right now is the sky is not even the limit. You can do whatever you want to do, that kind of a thing. I think you can't do is just self-imposed limitations. Hey,
And the universe is limitless. So go beyond the cosmos. You are the universe experiencing itself. So why limit yourself?
then, yes.
Is there anything that keeps you up at night, or do you sleep well?
One thing I think currently, because of ago, I moved down here. I moved about an hour away from I had to get out of the city I had been living in after the divorce. Dad was right there and like 0.2 miles from my house. And I just said, you know what? I am just really, I'd want to get out of this city that I've lived in for 20 years. Family with him. So I moved an hour away. And what keeps me up at night, but I'm working through it, is that this is the first big holiday that's coming up, Thanksgiving and then Christmas. And I
Right.
feel it's too much of a burden on my kids to go back and forth between my house and their dad's house. I know that might sound silly, but it's really, honestly, the only thing that I worry about. Like, I think they're not going to come visit me because I'm so far away from their dad. But the truth of the matter is they'll come to both of our houses, and I know that. But I just don't want to feel like I have to strive for the worthiness of my kids' love, And so
Oh,
I'm like, Cindy, just be you. And if they want to come here, they will. And if they want to go to their childhood home and they don't want to visit you, that's okay too. You can go see them. So just know everything's going to be okay with my kids after this divorce.
yeah. Yeah. Wow. That was very vulnerable. And wow, thank you so much for sharing that. And wow, I wanted to say it's like you're a mother first above all. And that's something I cannot relate because I don't have kids of my own. I want that. I want to soon, soon. It's happening, manifesting. But yeah, now that I'm back in my parents' place and my dad is not in the house often because he works outside of the city, but it's also an opportunity for me to be closer to her because I've been away. I left home when I was 17. I'm now 34. So that's like 15. Well, yeah. I go back and then, long story short, 15 years away. So this is the first time that I've been home for more than at least 3 weeks because the longest is just a week and then I'm off. I go again. And yeah, but yeah.
Your mother is loving that, having you there.
Yes, yes. I mean, there's gonna be. I mean, we have our moments where just arguments because I've lived. I've already. I'm accustomed to my own, approach and hers too. But then I couldn't be happier. Like I wouldn't trade this. If I were to move to the States and that I am going to prioritize this moment, and I know this is the time for me to strengthen the bond and relationship before I go off again.
My laptop is dying a little bit, so I'm having to charge
Okay.
it up. Okay. Just letting you know what I'm doing.
Okay.
I moved back home when I was 20. I was 21 and I just finished college and I lived there for a whole year. And so I know what it's like, but I can't imagine going back home at 34. So I can imagine that it's a very unique set of challenges.
Exactly. And I told her prior to coming, I was like, okay, mom, I'm doing podcasting, so I need a space. Like right now, the extra room, I mean, it's filled with her stuff. And I told her, okay, let's clean it up and then let's try and make that my home office. And because I'm not transitioned from my 9 to 5, so that means remote job. And yeah, so I'm in the process still. But they're right now. They're in the room because they know I'm talking. And I was like, okay, mom, please no sound. Yes, I got you. So yeah,
Looks and sounds perfect.
really. Thank God. Okay, Dr. Cindy, if you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
Very hard questions.
I get that a lot from my.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's not an original quote. It's just something that, I would like to leave the audience with. It's just kind of like what we were just talking a minute ago, is that you can do whatever you set your mind to. And mentoring and coaching is so important because you have to have someone to that will help you see the blind spots. It's almost like trying to get something from the back of your head. You're not going to be able to really see it, but if somebody else is there, you can see what's behind you so easily. So you can do whatever you want to set your mind to, but mentoring is key. Leave your audience with.
Thank you. I love that.
I can come up with on the spot.
You did great. I mean, that is something that I try to remind myself every day too. So that is gold. Thank you. Dr. Cindy, how can people reach out to you?
An amazing website that's just called drcindystarke.com, and Starke has an E on the end. It's a silent E. And there's a way to contact me there, and it has all my social media. But I'm at Cindy Starke everywhere, Facebook and Instagram. But I would say if they go to
Awesome.
my website, they'll see all that.
Awesome. Awesome. And you have LinkedIn too, right?
I have not figured out LinkedIn. Oh, Facebook is where I usually am hanging out, but I am in the middle of trying to figure out LinkedIn as well.
Okay.
I bet it's not that hard. But yeah, I'm Cindy Starke
No.
then also.
And I added you on LinkedIn as well. So we're connected.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, there you have it, everyone. You've just heard an inspiring journey and incredible wisdom. Thank you for sharing the work you're doing to uplift others and making a lasting impact, Dr. Cindy. Despite the challenges, you're paving the way for others, and your dedication is a true testament to resilience and purpose. For our listeners out there, this has been another thought-provoking episode of You're Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, if you've ever felt worthless, know this, you're not alone. But here's the deeper truth. If you were truly worthless, why would your soul choose to be here in this exact moment and this lifetime? Your soul traveled from the infinite not just to exist, but to matter. And for that reason alone, you are worthy. And with that, I'd like to thank Dr. Cindy Starke for joining us today, and to all of you for listening. Until next time, I'm Nick Nyaras, your host. Keep shining, keep growing, and remember, you are worthy and you are enough. See you in the next episode. Thank you so much, Dr. Cindy, for your time.
Much for having me.
Awesome.